like-minded and passionate about mental health, bringing them together to find solutions on support, to find solutions on how to live purposefully. And by the way, all the members have different projects, so it's not like people are stuck to heart and have nothing else to do. People are free, they do whatever else they are doing. Some of them already have CDOs, some are already authors. They are all in different spaces, but what brings us together is mental health. So today, we're going to award people who are making outstanding contribution in the mental health space. And there are 5 categories. At least I want to give you that background. The 5 categories are Disability Inclusion Impact Mental Health Award. That one is somebody who has a disability, whether it's invisible or physical, but they are making impact in the mental health space. Then there is another one called Special Impact Mental Health Award. Now that one, it's specific to people who are professionals in that area, but others even might be, maybe even though you are not a professional in that area, but you are actually passionate. You can be even an ambassador in that line of mental health. And then the third one is Youth Impact Mental Health Award. That one is for a young person. You must be a youth. If you are not a youth, you don't qualify. In Uganda, for you to be a youth, I think you have to be maximum 35, right? 35 years. And then the fourth, that is the Grassroots Impact Mental Health Award. Grassroots, you have to be at the grassroots. What impact are you making? Helping people get affordable services, helping people be more aware of their mental wellness. And then, the last one, that is leadership through lived experience. And the reason why I've said it last is really to emphasize that just because you've had a diagnosis doesn't mean that's it, the end of your life. And having a diagnosis does not mean you are a label. In fact, for me, I don't like calling myself those things. I'm bipolar. No. Right? It's a diagnosis, but that's not my identity. Yeah. So people who have a diagnosis are living in a healthy way and making impact. That's why we call it leadership through lived experience, mental health award. Yeah, so that is the background, and because I love connecting with people closely, that's why I'm inviting Faith. Faith, you come, please share your story, because we have parents in the room, we have some, maybe some are grandparents. Yeah, some are already grandparents, so that they know how can they protect their young people.
And suicide prevention advocate. I'm an author of the book To Live or Not to Live. It's at the reception as you come in. And it's an honor to be here, basically, because when I was starting out in the mental health space, I didn't know anyone. I wrote my book, I shelved it. I'm like, when I get someone who needs it, when I get someone who requires it, I'll give it to that particular person. I didn't know there was this whole community of loving people, supporting each other, and helping each other. But it has been such an eye-opener, and it has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Share more. Don't fear. Share more. Did you even finish the 5 minutes? No. Don't be shy.
I'm just that. Anyway, my struggle with mental health started way in primary school. But I found out I was struggling when I started my recovery journey. Then I got to realize that there's so many people struggling and they do not know that they're struggling, they do not know they have an issue, they do not even know the root causes, they do not know their triggers because they lack information and education about it. So that was me. When I was in primary school, I struggled a lot with self-esteem. yes, I would speak. I was a very good debater. I was writing the newsletter for my school then. But then I felt like I had to always work so hard to make friends. Because the school I was in, it was not academics that made you friends. Me, I knew as long as you're the first in class, the second, you're going to automatically make friends. I didn't think you had to be some extraordinary person, you had to go to specific places. I didn't know all that. So that's where my struggle came. Like, I started to try so hard to do the things that I thought were acceptable in the society I was in. And the more I did that, I put up charades, I put up facades that I didn't know who I was at the end of the day. Because I was so used to masking, it became normal. Like, I would not even know something is wrong with me. I would not know what made me angry or what made me sad, because I'm constantly performing. When I crossed over to secondary school, I got kind of a sigh of relief, because in secondary school it didn't matter where you're coming from, what your background was, as long as you performed well in class, it's all good. I just joined secondary school. I'm enjoying secondary school. My dad passes on. And me and my dad were very, very close. I remember growing up, I didn't have a relationship with my mom, because all the time I was with my dad. He's the one to take me to school, to pick me from school. I attend meetings with him. My weekends I spend with him all the time. And he would always constantly tell me, you know, you're my professor, you're my doctor, you're extraordinary, you're intelligent. And that was beautiful, because he introduced me to spaces that I didn't think I would be in. He would always tell me that there's no one under the sun that you can never approach. Everyone is human, everyone has flesh like you. If you work towards that, you'll always be able, if you educate yourself and know this person, you'll always be able to hold a conversation with them. So I knew I had to educate myself on specific topics if I'm to approach someone, but there's no one else, no one I could not approach, which was good, but kind of also put me on pressure. I would feel some kind of way when I did not perform as expected, when I failed at a presentation, when I failed at a performance. I would always feel like I'm not matched up to his expectations. I'm not going to be that girl he brags about. I was his handbag. All his friends still did. Most of them thought I was the only child. Yet I was just me and their firstborn to 4 other siblings. So when he passed, I felt like, okay, now who is going to encourage me? Who am I going to talk to? Do I have to cultivate friendships and relationships once again? Because now my mom is not known like my dad was. And I had had that experience of people associating with me because of who my dad was, people talking to us because of who our dad was. So now, that's very young. We lost our house. He passed on in June. We lost our house in December. And now we had to relocate to start staying in church, or you find somewhere to stay. But I remember during that time, in my family, like, having a godparent is actually really, really important. Like, they follow up their duties and all that. So my siblings were taken to their godparents, and then my mom is like, for you a big girl, we shall figure out things together. So most of the times, I would be with her. In case there was a crisis, it would be like, she would always be like, you know, for you a big girl. Which was good and bad at the same time. I felt good that my mom would rely on me at the same time, but then we had to shield so much from my siblings. So I could not break. I could not break. There was no time to first think about what's going on, first wallow in your sorrow, or first grieve whatever is going on. You had to get up and move. And during that time, and I was very close to a certain cousin of mine and some friends of mine. Then one of them passed on due to cancer. Shortly after moving through school, in HSC, I could not afford tuition anymore. So my classmates mobilized and paid for me tuition until my last paper. It was such a beautiful thing, but then I felt like I'm now open to them. Like I'm now vulnerable. They can do with me as they please. I felt like I could still not pick myself up or live my life the way I was living it. Because I was so used to masking, I would never let anyone know I'm lacking. I would never let anyone know I'm struggling with anything. I would always just be like, no, it's okay. I can't handle, even when it was really hard. When that happened, I felt like they now know. Will I make friends? Will people want to still associate with me? And teachers would come and be like, oh, Faith, this is great for you. And then everyone gives you this eye of, okay. And you start getting that pity from people. To some, it would be really nice, but to me, it made me feel like I had failed at keeping my shit together. I felt like we as a family, we had failed to live up to what we were expected of. We had failed to provide the necessities for each other. Whenever I would hear my siblings are back home, I would feel really, really bad. And during that time, my health was suffering all through from primary school. It just became worse. I was always home. And I remember the teachers would always advise my mom, why can't a girl just sit out this year and come and sit the next year? But since I had this thing in my brain, I'm like, I came to study 6 years, I'm not repeating, I have to finish the 6 years. What comes, let it come. So when I finished school, I went to university and I was so excited. I was like, okay, now university, I'm going to be able to build a career, to build something really big for me and for my family. My siblings are going to get the child that I got now. Then we're going to have some relief. I was so excited. I worked hard, I had a business. During that time, I was also modeling, I was doing pageantry, which is to also give me some money. So, in between there, as I'm joining campus, I lose another very close friend of mine to cancer. So now, I was confused because during that time joining campus, me and her had made plans together, we had rented a place together, we were sharing a course, we were sharing everything. So now, I'm like, okay, now I need to get someone to navigate this with, because all the way to that point, I had not yet faced what I was going through, I had not yet faced my hardships. I was still in avoidance, I was still putting up facades, I was still waking up in the morning and pretending that everything is okay. I'm never allowed to break, like I would never cry. You would never find me crying for anything at all. I would even look at people crying, I'm like, why are you crying? Who cries? You know? But when that happened, I could not attend the burial. I could not bring myself to attend the burial because I felt like, okay, now, how am I going to face the reality of this person? This is a third person who is very close to me dying. How am I going to face the reality? How am I going to go out in the world and I have to forge new relationships, have to explain myself to someone new, someone to get to understand me, and all that. Fast forward, when we reached during campus, it had just started. A friend of mine again commits suicide. And me and him, we were cousins at the same time, we were friends. We were very, very close. Like, so close. So my whole time I was asking myself, how did you see this coming? this person is always checking on you, you're always going there to check on them. How did you see this coming? Because my life was more like school, fashion shows, pageants, and work, and I would always be working up country. So most of the time I was never in Kampala. And this person would tell me, you know what, Faith, which district are you? They'll get that bus and find me there. They'll be like, no, it's been 2 months, I'm not hearing anything from you. I need to come. I need to see that you're actually fine. So when they passed, the suicide note was addressed to me. And that kind of messed me up so much. I felt responsible. And now his parents are asking me, what happened? Since you're the one who knows him more than we know him, tell us what happened. His friend, his roommate, because he committed suicide in hall, and his roommates were all asking me, Faith, what happened? Tell us. And I didn't have answers. I could not attend the burial because I didn't know what I was going to say. And during that whole period, the time I was struggling, I used to self-harm because I felt like it was relief. Every time I bled, I felt like this is relief. I'm feeling, it's like when you're thirsty and you take water, and then you feel like very okay after. That's how I used to feel like. So I would not feel the pain. Like I'll get to hospital when someone finds me, and the doctors are really worried. And then like, can't you feel the pain? And I'm honestly not feeling anything. I'm just numb. So after a short while, I was still dealing with the loss of all those people, answering questions, dodging questions. One of my little siblings gets sexually assaulted by a neighbor of ours at the time. And that's really hard because during that time I had stopped campus. We could no longer afford my tuition to continue. So I was home. And I felt like, okay, yes, I was running an organization at the time for the rural areas of Busoga. I was promoting education, morality, and health. And it was going on well. It was really doing well. It was growing at a fast rate. But the money was not coming in as people see. When people see the good pictures, they expect someone to match the pictures they're seeing, which was not the case. So I felt kind of responsible because I was supposed to work hard to get my family from such a neighborhood, to protect my siblings. So I felt responsible. When we tried to pursue the case and what, they tossed my mom around. She received death threats. It was this whole thing, and she just gave up. She's like, you know what? God will deal with them. But when she said that, we were bitter at the time. My siblings were so bitter. Like very bitter people, even before. But when that happened and they saw what happened, they became worse. They became extra bitter. They would never hold a conversation. You'd have to drag them to places. In school, they had no friends. Teachers would always be like, why can't your siblings just make one friend? But they were comfortable. Their lives is that. And that also hurt because I felt like these people deserved to make friends. They deserved a life that was really nice. They deserved to experience all these good things, and I felt responsible. Despite the fact that mom was there working so hard, but I also felt responsible. I'm like, how can a firstborn not have anything credible enough to help their family? So shortly after that, I enrolled in LDC. I started a diploma in law. And yeah, I was performing really well, like so well. And I loved what I was doing so much. Then towards the end, my actually time for graduation, they tell me one paper is missing. I didn't do it. I'm like, what do you mean? So for me, everything that had been happening in my life kept coming back. I felt like, okay, something that just doesn't want me to move forward. Maybe I'm just not meant to get any success in life. And I piled that on top of whatever was going on. And that hurt so much. Like, I'm like, okay. And then, of course, my siblings started asking, Faith is not graduating. She joined university a long time ago. Faith, we are not saying a degree. You know, my friend's big sister does this. My friend's big sister does this. But where are you? We call you on PD, sometimes you don't come. What? And I didn't have answers. And I would not blame them either because they were younger and maybe they could not understand what was going on. So during that time, relatives started putting pressure on my mom. Where is Faith's graduation? What happened? And she told them she also doesn't know what happened. And when she told them that, most of them thought I eaten the money. So you get phone calls, they'd be like, come here, then you're insulted, you know your mother is struggling, what, you ate the tuition. And I'll just keep quiet, I'll not explain. But it hurts. I was like, Mom, you know what we went through. You did not defend me, you just gave me up because you had answers to the questions. So I relied more on friends. And there's this friend I was very close to who was also self-harming at the time. And we would meet and also we would meet, smoke and self-harm the whole day. Like, that was the routine for the longest time. Then we started meeting, the number started growing to like 5 people. We all had stuff we were struggling with, but we just meet, to just do that. We smoke until you black out. That is smoking weed until you black out. Or some of them would drink until they black out. And then when the first person to get up, gets up, the other tells them, let's go back home. You go back home. When you reach home, you act like everything is fine. You go back to the routine. The next morning, you wake up like you're going to work. You meet in the same spot, like that. So during that time, there's this friend of mine I was talking to, and they were struggling as well. He told me, and before all that, I had a very, very bad attempt. There's an attempt I had that kind of messed with my intestines, and I had to be operated. So before the operation, the doctor told me what was going on, and I told him, I don't tell my mom. So he told us some scientific thing there. Should be lived. She's like, then he put me aside. He told me there's something called a mental illness, there's this and this. What science do you have? He educated me about it, and I didn't know. Me, I thought that's how I was meant to be, that's how I am, and that's how maybe I would die. I didn't know there are root causes, there are triggers, I didn't know all these terms. So fast forward, I get to learn all this, and that friend of mine also gets information and starts educating me. Shortly after, I start writing the book, slowly by slowly. I wrote this book 5 times. The first time, the manuscript got stolen. The second time, it got stolen. The third time, it got burned. The fourth time, it got stolen. The last time, I just told myself, just write what you can and go and put this thing out. Because if you keep it again, something might happen. So during that time, as I'm preparing, that friend of mine that they kept telling me, Faith, have you got a publisher? We need to do this, we need to do this. They also died. And when they died, I was like, okay, now, who's going to help me with this? I can't find anyone who's going to stand with me in this, who will understand what I'm going through, understand where the book came from. So I gave up, I shelved it, and I relapsed. And during that time, I knew about, now I was educated about my condition, but then I'm still avoiding. I was still avoiding and cutting corners each and every time, and it just got worse. It got worse. It started to show now outside. I started isolating. I ended up in a very toxic relationship. And each time this person beat me or assaulted me, I would be like, it's okay, this is the person who understands that I'm ugly, I'm not worth it. This is the person who understands that I'm nothing, basically. So I would stay. They would beat me and apologize and be like, no, it's okay. I think I'm the one who annoyed you. They would do that. And I would also feel like, yeah, these are the people, this is the person who understands me. But I did notice that the more I put up with all this and I put up with the toxins inside, it just started becoming toxic on the outside. I looked terrible. I lost so much weight. I would reach a place and everyone is looking at me like, are you about to faint? What's going on? And that made me feel bad because during the day, I'm on the stage, I miss something and I'm speaking to people and I'm speaking a lot of sense. In the night, I'm self-harming, I'm all these things. But now when it started to show, I stopped doing everything I was doing. And during that time also the organization had got so many issues. We had got death threats, people wanted to buy shares, so we had stopped. And now I kind of withheld from everyone and locked myself up. But the funny thing is, each time I kind of locked up, that's the time I got the most opportunities to show up in people, which was hard. Sometimes I would show up and I'm speaking and I'm shaking. Before I know it, I'm like, excuse me, I first go out and I don't come back. I just get aboard and I run away. People would get annoyed and people would get annoyed, but I felt like a fraud. I'm like, why am I speaking to people when I'm going back in the night to do the same exact thing? Why am I speaking to people when this and this has happened in my life? Like, I have no place speaking to people. All in all is the recovery journey is where you're tested most, and that I learned the hard way, because me, I thought that once you're in the recovery journey, it's so easy. Like, you're going to wake up in the morning, you're feeling good, you're telling yourself these affirmations, you're telling everyone, I'm positive, I'm better, but that's when circumstances around you just trigger you the most. That's when things start happening in your life to test how best you are recovering. But one thing that stood out for me in all of this was the fact that we really, really need the knowledge. And the fact that the people who have the knowledge are also so welcoming. We just don't know why the knowledge is not yet so out there. But these people are always willing to help. And they are the kindest people. They are the kindest people, because I remember the first psychologist I spoke to used to chase me around like a puppy. I would hide from them. I would always run around. I'm like, no, I can't show up. But when I determined to put myself on the path of recovery, when I put out the book and saw how much it was impacting, I realized when I put myself on the path to heal and put out the book and how much impact it was making, that was enough for me. I didn't have to do all that, but as long as just one person was impacted with what I was doing. So keep spreading the information, be patient and kind with your people. They're going to get better. I know they will. I know they will. And we as people, I'm so sorry.
Hafsa. And we do brilliant work together, all over the country and supporting other people. But I had a challenge, mental health wellness. I used to be a certain sort of person. And so you slip further into the people, and maybe the alcoholics will accept you. And those are the challenges we have. So people slip, our children slip, our husbands slip, our wives slip, our colleagues slip, because we stigmatize them, and there are those very many other people who are willing to accept them, and say, oh, you don't worry, you have another drink, whether it's destroying you or not, they are not bothered. And you are happy there, you feel, you even make the hours drag on and on because you're in a safe space. So we need more safe spaces. Dr. Hafsa, we used to do a lot of policy advocacy. Do we have these safe spaces where people can go? And the more you talk about mental health wellness, the more I realize we need it everywhere. People enjoy reading the tabloids, and what is there? A lot of mental health issues. Oh, so and so, they were fighting again. He beat up the wife. Oh, he's using this and that. And people are enjoying the gossip. But at the heart of it is mental health. Oh, a soldier shot so and so. Who's supporting our soldiers? After they've been out there fighting and they've seen their colleagues being blown to smithereens. So I think we need that advocacy. As we have the world mental health day at national level, because we have our grassroots people. And I'd like to commend my brother. I received your tips on WhatsApp. We met, I think, when I was asking for somebody to do some translation for work which we were doing for refugees. Yeah. And we've been in touch since. But there are those people, but we also need at national level. We have the policies, and we have a whole spectrum of people out here. So tips, where can we all go in and say that this is my pitch, this is what I'm going to do? People who work with refugees, I've worked with refugees, and you can see there are so many mental health issues there. Sometimes they erupt. You know that the Dinka and where they will never live together in the settlements. They have to be separated because these people have that trauma which they came with. And you even see it in the early childhood development centers. the little kids from the different ethnic groups have that trauma. How are we supporting our young people? Somebody talked about people with disabilities. There's trauma there. There are mental health issues. Wellness in our offices. How do we support our people? I know that there are deadlines to work, to very tight deadlines. How do we support people in those areas? So to me, the tips I think is that it needs to begin with us to look at what is my wellness. Like some of us are heads of, like you said, you're ahead, you know. But sometimes we don't consider that the people up there also need support. Sometimes we talk about the students and we forget about the teachers. Sometimes we talk about the mother and we forgot about the person who helps her at home with the children. And then you say that we have there are nannies from here who are doing all sorts of things. But what support are these people? So each of us in our sectors, are we looking at the people who we are working with? It doesn't have to be very big. But to me, the tip which I'd leave everybody with is that let us all first look at ourselves and see what do we need to do for ourselves, but also look out and then look at what can we do. The small we can do, we might all not be able to change policy, but I really commend Angela. It takes a lot of bravery to be a vision bearer and to bring it to fruition. A lot of us like saying, oh, I was the first woman to do this and that, but you found it already set. But when a person has a vision and they say, you know what, for the good of humanity, and in an area like mental health, and you say that year in, year out, I'm going to take this forward, I think we actually need to take this platform out there. That's where the marketing becomes very important. We've seen people marketing musicians having battles. But we need to also market wellness for our country. Because sometimes you might find people go to those battles because they are trying to get mental health wellness. So we also need to start marketing some of these things. They really matter. And I'm appealing to the media. Sometimes the media, you get these things at a small space like this. And then the battle will get more space like this. Let us also be balanced and see how are we going to.
Nkubirawo ekifaananyi awo.
Really make you feel better, feel good. You can't imagine an adult doing certain things. You know them. I'm not speaking for I know you know them, what they do. But there's small things which you imagine anyone, if they're coming to a home and they're being welcomed, will not, they will easily do it, or they will not do certain things. But they do it, and then like, what's wrong with this person? I have told myself to help all the girls who come to my home, to help their mental health. Because they have a lot of trauma. I talked about that trauma. Oh, they have a lot of trauma. They've been in homes where they do not eat the same meal as the relatives, as the other members of the family. Or they've been in homes where they were deprived of basic things. There's no sugar, there's no electricity, they have to go for water from very far away, they don't have proper beddings, you know? So they're really troubled. They come and see
they have mixed reactions. Should they be envious? Should they feel happy? Should they, you know? And even the money that we give them is too little. I don't know whether that's enough for them. It's too little. You can imagine giving someone 100,000. Sure. When you go shopping in one area, you spend much more than what you're giving someone at the end of the month. I'm sorry, I'm bringing on so many things for now, but that's mental health. So is that could be affecting their mental health? Or even us who are giving them that are also not caring about even our own mental health, because we could not think about what someone is going to use 100,000 for at the end of that day. You know, our actions, those are our actions. But the thing is as well, you find someone who is so annoyed they hit a child very terribly because they are crying, or the child has refused to do certain things. I was telling someone who visited me today, was asking me what is the state of mental health in the country. I'm like, well, I cannot generalize, but I was dividing it into people at different stages of their life. For the children, those little ones we get back home, who have not yet gone to school, their biggest need is love. To be there, to be one auntie, like our colleagues will not understand some of these words. You tell them that they're so good, they're so smart, they're doing very well. Then you see them doing things, you know, you cannot even expect. But then people will keep them away. You cannot tell them that. You can't. You can't love them. So that child's mental health is not good. They will not grow up, you know, feeling good and happy, and, you know, they will not relate easily. They will be fearful that the adult I'm with can beat me, the adult I'm with can hurt me, you know. And many times the mothers, and we don't even care. We don't care what has happened. Sometimes we don't even leave the milk or the food that they will eat. Or even if we left, we will leave only for the child and not for the person who is going to take care of the child. Of course they will eat it. They will eat for your child. Eh? But there's so much. So for those ones, for those little ones, that's the love, which many times they don't get. What do? They get stuck onto that television and they find they are peace there. And the maids love it anyway. They even love it there. Like, let her be there, so she does this stuff. So she doesn't understand. So for that age group, that is their problem. For the ones that are a little older, it is at their school. One of my sons who was in, I think it was P1, I think, opted to go back to nursery. He told me, Mommy, I want to go back to nursery. I want to go back to the other school. Reason. They were calling him Papa, Daddy. But where he had gone, from does nothing. Get up in the morning, make your bed, go to school. Oh, it was terrible. So those students, that was it. I had to tell him, no, don't worry, this is for big boys now, the other one is for small ones. And he always wanted to be big, and so I told him, this is for big boys. So somehow, anyway, we managed to go through it like that. But many, of course, has affected me. Then the work that we did them, then the beating that happens in schools, then the lack of love, of not being called daddy or whatever, mommy or sweetie, then the physical activity. Children are supposed to play. People will deprive our children of playing. So what do you expect those children's mental health to be? Not the best. It's not the best. And they have traveled, you walk them up at 5 o'clock to take them to school. They have to travel another 1 hour or 2 to go back home. To get home when there is no food. To get home when there is this person telling them to wash their uniforms and everything. Like stressing them even further, they have to do homework. Hey, that is that age group. Now it comes to those that little above. I'm just bringing on things that are affecting our children's mental health that we sometimes do not even pay attention to. The 14-year-olds, those ones, do you know that that's the time when your hormones develop? That's when you're reading the books. We used to read the news and boom. I don't know which books they're reading now, but there's this kind of love, the fantasies that are in there, eh? And so they begin to see things that are totally different. They begin to have feelings for people, and most of the time they may land on the wrong person. But okay, they have problems. Yeah, the pressures that happen. Yeah. And some people cannot say no, cannot be able to say that now this is a crash, or I could wait a little bit. Some of them will just rush into that, depending on how they were brought up, depending on how they were helped to grow up. Because for some people, it's like you have to have whatever you want, which is terrible. It's normal, it's natural that you cannot have 100% of everything that you want. It's not possible. But some parents have put it in their children like that, like they have to have it all. So if they love someone, or they feel that they have a crush on someone, they'll ensure that they get that person. So the relationships are affecting those young people. Then there's the cyberbullying and the internet and the screen time. Screen time, young people. One of the therapists was telling us that one of the reasons why many young people are wearing glasses now, it's not because their eyesight has gone bad, but it's just because they are not going out in the sun to play and look, and their vision goes a little beyond the television, the screens, or even the laptop, the tabs that we have given them to play with. All their sights are just here. A child has not gone out in the field to play for a very long time. That's poor mental health. And when you remove that tab, the child throws his tantrums and they cry, and then you say, okay, have it back. Unfortunately. Parenting, eh? But that age group, that is their problem. When you get into our time, the adults, the ones who have just finished university, there's looking for a job. No, there's either first getting good grades, but then there's looking for a job. These jobs are not very easy to come by. I have today got a doctor who was initially a nurse. She started off as a culture, and culture comes in different ways. It starts off in our homes, it starts off in our schools, the workplaces. Culture is there. And the problem with culture is that it is going to affect the path that you take. Either you will go to Juju, judge someone, or you will go to the head of facility. It's your culture. When someone acts like that they are bewitched. When they say, you say, then that one must be spirit somewhere, the devil must have come in here. What's in our community, we talk of Majini, Gamukutte, Gamaluma. Majini has always supernatural things. So it is very important that we draw a line between culture and science. I know someone who was telling us that after they left Bukalika, he was given medicine to go and take, and he was told to return after 1 month. This person did not return. But their mental illness did not return after 1 month. It returned after 6 months. After 6 months, it returned. They said, the other core, we told you, this person is not, the problem is not mental illness. It is this. We were told to take medication, which they did not. So the fact that it recurred, it came again. They said, this must be. So they had to go back into that. But also, the religious leaders also, the spiritualists also, they say we can pray for you. We can pray for you and these things will go. But what are those things you're praying for? Yes, we can pray. It's good to pray. And there's a certain aspect it will work on. But for those hormones that have changed, those chemicals that are the other way around, you need some medicine. You need medicine, but to also calm this person down so that the stigma doesn't come in. The stigma comes in when there is a loss of hope. People have lost hope. There's no cure. It is so dirty. It is so terrible. We don't want to associate with it. That is when stigma comes in. And this stigma again pushes people further away from care. It's the one that stops people from getting the care. This can be treated in each and every health facility. We have trained healthcare workers to be able to identify and treat the common simple mental illnesses. It's only the difficult ones, or the ones that have failed on treatment, or the ones that have failed somehow, that go to the Butalica. Otherwise, the regional referral hospitals are also there. The regional referral hospitals are there. Please be informed. The regional referral hospitals are there, and the medicines are even expiring. People, we are advocating for medicines to be available, but when they are available in these facilities, we don't use them. And they get them, and they expire. So you see why we're making a lot of noise now. When on the list of expired medicines are mental health medicines and the ones that the quality has also improved. The kind of medicines we have now are not those ones that will drowse you and make you not function for the whole day. And I know you know, some of you who are here, you know what I'm talking about. These medicines where they would make you can't even think properly. Nowadays you take your medication and go to work. And the child goes to school and they perform very well. These medicines are there. We've had some issues over the last, I think, 1 or 2 years. Because of COVID, we had a shortage. There's been a shortage. But this shortage has been covered. The medicines are there. Do not crowd Tabika Hospital. The alcohol and drug unit in Butabika is full. It cannot accommodate any more people for now. Even the floor cases are over-congested also. And you've heard that story that they are chasing away people. They are not chasing them away, they are not just accepting them for coming. But if they tell you not to use a substance and they find you using it, they'll chase you out. That's the only situation. That's the only time they chase you out. When you're not about it. Because there are so many others who are waiting to be treated, but it seems like you're not ready. But that said, however, the privates are also there. Quite a number of private rehabs. We are developing their guidelines. We know that there are so many, everyone is treating in their own way, using their different models, but we are trying to develop the guidelines. They'll be out, I think, very soon. So we need to have a standard. We need to have a standard way of treating people who are being rehabilitated for many reasons, for different issues, mental illness, but mainly the substance use. We want to have a standard that whoever is in Karamoja should receive the same treatment as that one in Kabaya. So, but as long as they are using the same substance. We are even celebrating days. I want to thank the Vision Group. This is the Vision and
Yeah, it's Vision Group.
yeah, and whoever is here, let's clap for them. For taking your time to think about us in a mental health space. To give information, give out this information. It is very important. These are basic things, but we forget them. We forget them. We want everyone to know, so at least the basic around mental health and mental illness. We are the cause of the mental illness. We are the cause of the mental unrest to others. Let people know the things that others do not want, or that will cause their mental illness. give them those few tips, and I'm sure our media group will be able to give them out. The rest of us, let's mind about mental health. But very importantly, the mental health of the people around you. Do not be the reason why another person's mental health fails. Thank you very much for listening.
I came here because I know that what I go through, most of the people out there also go like this. Most times we don't talk about certain things, but the truth is that we equally go through the same things. We just need to speak up more. I know I can't really hear. At least most of my friends have spent sleepless nights, crying, wailing all night long over something. You didn't need to get outside the street to undress and remain naked for them to know that your mental health is affected. You were struggling, right? What else? Maybe, I don't know, you have a well-laid table, right? But you choose to sit on the floor and eat that. You transfer your plate to the floor, eat from there. Or you have a well-laid bed, but you choose to spend the night on the floor, still moaning and crying. That's your mental health being affected. So, when we talk about mental health, it's not about walking out naked. It's not about walking on the streets, carrying baggage, or it's the state of your mind. Most times we let it slide and it goes too far. What do I mean by going too far? Going away like far is by not being able to function the way you ought to be functioning. Maybe let's say you no longer go to work, you just lock yourself in the house. That's your mental health being affected. So I'm just here to say that, I'm proud of you guys. For those who fought through things that they didn't share with other people. I'm proud of you guys for those who spread out love, even with broken hearts. I am proud of you guys for putting your mental health first. Angela, for putting your mental health first. Yes, I noticed you're putting yourself first. So well, I'm proud of you for being strong, even when you had reasons to give up. For that, I'm proud of you. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you so much, Aida. I've been told that when we move closer to the speaker, the sound is a little bit better, is it?
Yeah.
Though difficult, but maintaining can be tough. Dr. Hafsa, thank you so much for your remarks. This evening, I know that most of us in this room, Angela handpicked us because of our involvement with the mental health space. But all the same, I'll quickly speak to you about some of the things I've written. I was reflecting and saying, what do I want to say? What do I want to share this evening? And before even I share, I want to honor all those that have shared their testimonies. You're courageous, you're brave. Thank you for inviting us into your stories and your journeys. Mental health, we all know it's a state of psychological and emotional well-being. And as Dr. Hafsa already mentioned, it determines how we handle life, how we handle stress, how we relate to others, and how we make choices. It affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act. But I think this evening, the trouble with mental health is that most times when people are struggling, especially with mental health, not so much with physical health, though sometimes also with physical health we ignore or we neglect, but many times with mental health challenges we ignore or we neglect, or sometimes we just simply don't have the information. We can't detect, we can't assess. The challenge is that when we don't do anything about our mental health, or if we have mental illness, the issues don't go away. They actually don't get better. They just stay. The longer the illness persists, the more difficult it is to treat and to recover from. For example, some people start with anxiety, before you know it they have panic attacks and all those kind of things. Trauma, before you know it people have post-traumatic stress syndrome or disorder. So it's a challenge. And it also affects other areas of our lives, or it invites other challenges that make the situation more complicated. Unemployment. Then unemployment feeds into an already delicate situation. We've already heard about suicide, inappropriate incarceration, poor quality of life, families in discord. And this evening I want to spend a bit of time actually speaking into the carer. Yes, but the carer also struggles. Unnecessary arguments. We see with other illnesses that tend to be prolonged, that families begin to quarrel, to have discord, to be broken because maybe we are accusing each other, or we are exhausted, we are depleted, the resources are limited, and that does not actually work to help any of our mental health, leave alone maybe the particular person we are supporting. Of course, we all know that one of the most significant reasons why we don't pay attention to our mental health challenges or illness is stigma, as we've already said. When Angela invited me, she asked me to share from my perspective, from my work. We work with minors and little girls particularly coming out of prostitution, but also victims of child trafficking, and also with adults, particularly coming from sex trafficking. But we also see that those that are in labor trafficking usually will have both. It's rare that people are just exploited in labor. You'll find elements of sexual exploitation as well. And most of the victims and eventually survivors we work with suffer so many things. And they have a lot of traumatic experiences. I'll just use two stories to bring out what I'm trying to paint this evening. We recently received a referral of a young Ugandan girl. And trafficking is not just cross-border. It just happens that tonight some of the stories I'm using are cross-border. Actually, statistically, for every country, 75% of the trafficking happens in-country. It does not happen cross-border. Cross-border is more alarming because we see movement. But trafficking in persons can also happen when you're not moved. I don't know how many of you remember the NBA story of Canary. He was Canary Tukume, who did a story of the girls sold in Arapai market. Ugandan girls who were sold in a market in Soroti called Arapai. Just imagine you're 13, you're 15, and your mom sells you for 20,000. Or she sells you for 50,000. And so we have the domestic cases, there are so many. Dr. Hafsa talked about home settings. There's so much labor exploitation and even sexual exploitation in the domestic setting because it's hard to regulate, it's hard to monitor. But these particular stories are both cross-border trafficking stories that I want to bring out certain aspects this evening. This particular young lady who received back spent 5 years in sex trafficking. She was working, gifted with her hands, an amazing, talented young person who, one of the things you need to understand about trafficking in persons, they will exploit you at whatever level of desperation or vulnerability you are. If you're sophisticated, you'll be handled in a sophisticated manner. If you're basic, the trafficker will target you at your very basic place. So they just say, but you can do this, you're amazing at what you do. You can do it in another country. Long story short, they processed everything and she traveled. When she was first referred to us, they said she was coming from a certain country. Later on, after she'd been with us, I discovered that was not even the original country she had been trafficked. So just imagine yourself, you leave Uganda, you arrive at an airport, you're picked up by somebody. She actually traveled with a trafficker from Entebbe, who kept on distancing himself. Same flight, but different seats. Arriving to the other country, she's picked by a car. We drive right into a place. The driver steps out, asks for her passport. She handed it over. She thought, this is what, there's a lot of misinformation. He stepped out of the car when they arrived, went to the elevator, pressed a button, she entered. He pressed the level she was going at, and she entered this place, and for the next 2 years she never left. You cannot imagine how, just imagine we came here this evening and we don't leave for 2 years. Try and visualize. We came this evening to commemorate the World Mental Health Day, and we don't leave for 2 years. I want that to sink. We walked into this place, and for the next 2 years, you don't step out. You stay in this space. And just staying in that space without you stepping out is bad enough for your mental health. But on top of that, there was nobody. She was tired, tried to rest, eat something. There were stuff to eat. Long story short, the next human beings she saw, I think, were after about 24 hours, and there were 4 men. And the rest is history. So for 2 years, she never left. And they just kept on bringing more people, including the person who had trafficked her. He appeared one of those days and also exploited her. And after those 2 years, the next movement, they still went down that elevator, into a car, to an airport, to the other country. And for 3 years, she never left that country. So by the time we received her, her feet could hardly move. We say trauma happens in the mind but lives in the body. So trauma lives in the body. Her fingers, her feet, she couldn't step out of the house. We read all these stories, they say tie a rope on an elephant and whatever, those things, until it's really a human being that has been conditioned. So the journey was that we needed to help her step out of the house, step out of the room, walk in the compound, remove her sandals so that her feet can touch the ground, and ground her and begin to revive certain things in her. But with severe trauma. Severe trauma. And of course, an adult, she has a right to her phone, and one of those days when she got data and got back online, the traffickers were waiting. And they sent her all kinds of images and told her the next time, because we give them some safety protocols, location was turned off, but she could be seen on her social media platforms, and they sent her pictures. And the next thing I get a phone call and a case manager saying she was re-triggered so badly. She was screaming. Of course, when she threw the phone the other side, the case manager picked it and also saw the images, triggered people in the space. And so that is one. The other person We received her back from Iraq. And she'd been back for a while. And she had an issue of blood. If I use that term, you understand what I mean. She had an issue of blood. And so as they were working on her case, we needed to pick her up and support her with medical. We needed to do serious medical procedures. But you see, when she was trafficked while there, she lost her only child she had left with. But the family she had left her child with, they were already upset with her because she went to work and wasn't remitting anything. They didn't know that she was already in a trafficking situation. So really, the support system is very angry. She loses her son, returns with a of loss and pangs and grief and complex trauma happening to this one person. So as we sit here in this room, we usually have things we call complex trauma. Some of the things that come out, or when people eventually are triggered, it might not be the only bang or event they have. I liked what Dr. Hafsa did. She took us through stages. Uganda, I'll speak for Uganda, I'll not claim to know globally. We are setting ourselves up for really serious mental health challenges because of the way we treat our children. A child, by the fact that they are a child, they are exploited. Who gets an 8-year-old to come and babysit your child? And on top of that, sexually abusing children in communities, neglect, abuse of all levels, labor and everything. And these are children. Now, by the time we get to the young ladies, some of you see maybe traveling abroad, those people go to those countries actually carrying trauma with mental health that is already compromised. So by the time the victimization happens and everything, exploitation, they're already carrying unprocessed things. And as a country, I know Dr. Hafsa is in policy, we must really become strategic thinkers and planners. When we see the cases, when the Uganda police report comes out and we see the reports of abuse of children, what does that mean for Uganda in the next 30 years? You're a researcher in the Ugandan space. What is the exploitation of Ugandans in other spaces going to mean for us and the most prime age for the Ugandan labor force? For some of you who have tried to employ, I like Dr. Hafsa, we share so much in common. She's a mother of 4 boys, I'm a mother of 3 boys. But I also work with my maid at home. And when they first come, you detect, wow, I have one, she's a mother. But you know, when you're telling her, don't clean this thing like this, straight away she's explaining herself. Then I discovered she must have been reprimanded so much as a child that all the time she has to first thing. I told her, then I eventually asked her, when you're growing up, tell me what happened. Because if I'm explaining something and you try to answer, you will never learn. I'm not accusing, I'm not going to punish you. She's always on the defensive, which tells you, there's a lot of, and she can't learn, which means I'll have to repeat feedback, which exasperates her, annoys her, and does all those things. So, just understanding. When I observed, I told my husband, man, I think this lady, they really shouted at her when she was a kid. Because the moment you begin to, before you're done, she's already trying to defend herself. So, we have all these things surrounding us. So from our work, we've two things I want to talk about are not just the trauma, I'm not even going to dive into that, but the complexity, the already underlying things that are coming from childhood. Because I'm not even talking about just mental illness, because I mean, we know that there are predispositions. When I support people who are maybe seeing a psychiatrist and I'm a psychologist, I try to demystify mental illness. I tell them, when we go to the doctor and they find your blood pressure is high, they usually ask you, is there anybody in your family that is hypertensive? They are trying to look for predisposition. Is your family, are there people who are diabetic in your family? So I usually tell them it's the same thing. And we're trying to map. I'm trying to ask them, do you have an uncle, an aunt? Then for some, they'll say, oh, I have a cousin, maybe they don't study well, maybe they had a learning disability. For you, you know, maybe there is this other issue. So you're trying to demystify the mental challenges they have around them to show them that the hypertensive doesn't run away thinking, how dare you say my family has hypertension? We usually say, oh yes, then they do, oh, then watch what you eat, then watch whatever. So as we share information this evening, we need to demystify mental health challenges and issues for the people around us. To tell them nobody is always shamed for their insulin shot. We just feel for them and say, oh, how do you take that shot, you know? But then why do we shame others when they are doing their treatment? So that is one thing we need to understand, that there are complexities, there are triggers, there are many underlying things that are down there even as we deal with them. So as we address in our work, and most of you know these things, the principles really when you're managing trauma: safety, physical and emotional safety. And sometimes when you look at our country, you wonder where the safe spaces are. Not only safe physically, but safe emotionally. You know, they say that psychologists will go telling people things. That is breaching ethical, but also in the spiritual space, pastors, priests, people come and confide in spiritual leaders, and then they tell everyone in the name of testifying. So we need to find safety when we are dealing with trauma. Then choice. There is dignity in choice. You know, when we work with vulnerable people, maybe people who are not, why would you just get a tattered dress and give it to someone? If you're going to give someone a dress, sew it. Put the button back on. If we're feeding hungry people, if you have rice and posho and beans, perhaps consider allowing them to choose. Maybe yesterday they ate posho and beans, but today they really, really would rather eat rice and beans. There is dignity in choice. It's a principle when you're dealing with mental health. Give somebody as little choice as possible, whatever is possible. Sometimes there are not so many choices. Even if it's a child, you can ask them, do you want a pancake or cassava? Don't just say that the adults will eat a nicely fried cassava and the children will just eat the pancakes. You just, and then they look at us. I don't like going for functions and adults are served before children. What are we saying? If we are that hungry as adults, what about the children? So there is dignity in choice. It's a pillar in dealing with trauma. Collaboration, multidisciplinary. But also you want them to learn to collaborate. Trustworthiness, as practitioners and each other, are we building healthy boundaries? Or are we actually teaching our children, teaching society, teaching each other to have healthy boundaries? You know, boundaries are meant to, when we cross each other's boundaries, I would give you an example. Everybody is not your money person. You don't borrow money from everybody. There are people you know that Angela is my type. On these issues, I can do money. Christine is my type, but I don't borrow money from Christine. Trustworthiness comes from healthy boundaries. I know my limit. We have mindsets that think boundaries are meant to block us. Actually, boundaries are meant to allow us to thrive. But perspective matters. Then, of course, empowerment. Just because somebody has mental illness or other mental health challenges doesn't mean they don't have giftings and talents. What we need to develop for them to be empowered. They are dealing with this, but they can also excel in the other part and whatever. So quickly I want to run through about improving individuals' mental health Number one, connect with other people. And guess what? When you look up around what's happening today, we are losing connection. Everything we are doing is buying into individualistic cultures. Uganda, we were very much a collective culture. We were, what you call collectivism. But you see, with modernization and being exposed to other cultures, we've got into individualism. But one of the things that we need to restore and to watch out for, because we want to do prevention as we do treatment, not so. We want to build healthy relationships. They are critical. Right from conception. In our profession, we have what you call attachment theory, how children bond. I'll give you an example. This is how we are nursing children today. This baby is breastfeeding, and this is mom. This is very poor attachment. We were meant to do this. This is how humans attach. We cool. Do you know that when a mother has a baby in the house, you can think about 10 other people? If you pass by the house, you hear them talking to the baby. That's what used to happen. But when we do this, poor bonding, poor attachment. We don't know where the breast has gone and where the person is. Attachment. And guess what? What does that do to us? Because today we are here to learn. Childhood connections teach us how to perceive the world, safe or unsafe, which become the lenses through which we see the world, which become the lenses through which we perceive information. And usually when we don't perceive the world well, it escalates our experiences and causes our mental health to deteriorate. If we don't attach well, if we don't perceive the world as safe from when we are babies, we think everyone is out to get us. So even when somebody compliments you, you think they want something from you. Perception is badly affected. We adopt what we call false beliefs. What you believe about yourself, what you believe about others, what you believe about around the world. The world is not all bad. There are still good people, amazing people seated here. Please clap for yourself. You're amazing. If you were not, you would not be here. The world still has good people. The world, yes. Yeah, that neighbor can still be a good person. These days we are learning a new, it's not necessarily new, but with our profession, continuous education, we call it EFT, emotionally focused therapy. And it's based on attachment theory. It shows that most marriages struggle because people didn't bond well as children. So once you go back into attachment theory, then you can help a marriage. The emotions that were developed. We have so many emotionally distant spouses and so many emotionally distant parents. And for us to rectify these things, we must do some of those things. The other area for improving individual mental health is physical activity. Yet again, let's go back to lifestyle issues we have today. Most of us are sitting, the kids are sitting playing video games, they are on tabs. Dr. Hafsa put it right. Play. But even for us as adults, we pride ourselves in driving cars. But we had better park these cars and walk. Park at some place and walk to your office. Or walk back. Physical activity does so much for mental health. And most of you know that they'll encourage you to play, to walk, to exercise. It stimulates your entire body, it sets you in motion, you're not lethargic, you're not just, scrolling through things, very mindless. Then the other issue is learning skills. Let me use something. When we were younger, they used to sing. It was like a folk thing. I think those are been It meant that there was this young lady who got married, but didn't know how to do anything in the home. And so she struggled a lot and needed her mother to come and help her. But this is what we are doing. When you already have a predisposition, and maybe you're struggling with mental health or anything, when you lack other skills, your condition is even worse. So we need to teach our children to be savvy, to know how to clean themselves, to groom themselves, to cook, to clean, to arrange. Boys, girls, It helps when you can do things. It's like a sharp knife. It's detrimental when you can't do stuff. It's detrimental when you don't know how to know that 1-2 people have a solution. People who don't know how to use their phone book. The only thing is forwarding posts. But your phone book is a resource. It's a resource for resource mobilization, for expertise, we need to resource ourselves to learn. How do I move through town? We are raising children who can't move from one end of town to the other. They can't take a taxi. And sadly, some of the things we grew up with, we think we're suffering, yet we're becoming sweet ones. So I'm not saying we should be cruel to our children, but even when you have a car, let the child take some public transport so they know what it means to go and hustle around and be pushed by the taxi. I know you know. And I'm not losing my phone even as they're pushing me around. You know? So learning skills, basic skills. A person who can't clean their room, they get, other people start laughing. Then you send them away to boarding school and they can hardly keep their space. It's even worse now. Somebody's bullying them, somebody's calling them too tall, somebody's calling them too short, somebody's calling them flat, and on top of that, they cannot make their bed. On top of that, they can't do the cup. On top of that, they can't use a fork and a knife. Man, their lives are complicated because we haven't skilled them. And then, we all go to these weddings. You know, for me, I've told people, those speeches at weddings, they don't cut it. They think they should have had before. They're not going to transition one time. I'll tell you something about the boy child and girl child. I have boys, so I can speak. The boy child these days comes home. Don't shoot me. Oh, comes home at 3 a.m. From work to wherever, comes home at 3 a.m. Then they marry, and we're expecting them to come home with their wife at 6. Drink evening tea. They pray together. Put their children to bed. Well, at your house, there's things coming at 3 a.m. We've enabled certain things. We've taught indirectly certain things. And then at the wedding day, we give these speeches where we expect the person to walk from office and go. But they've not been coming from office and going home. So why should they start now? So, friends, creativity. And Dr. Hafsa already said, the phone is killing the brain. I work with young people. I volunteer counseling in secondary schools. What do you want to do? The question can be big. Sometimes they don't know who they want to become. But what are you interested in? I don't know. What do you want? I don't know. Of course, some of it could be related to mental illness, but some of it, this is supposed to be a normal functioning person. But their brain is asleep. They need to be reawakened, but the phone doesn't do that. The screens don't do that. It is the nature, the playing around, the trying out, the doing the balls, the putting the iron things together to make a little car, the practical things. Of course, schools are trying, but they're not the only. A child cannot just have the school experience and then come home and there's no creativity. Everything is supposed to work together to support us. And even us as adults, we can be creative. Do we have thinking time? Or we are hyper-aroused, hyper-stimulated? Do we take moments, 1 hour, and thinking, who do I want to be? Who is a better version of me tomorrow? Even just thinking about my month of October, 31st I have the week of the 20th, I can't do that, and I'm planning, I'm thinking, I'm allowing certain creative ideas to come, I'm writing them down. They might seem crazy, but they're there. But on scrolling from TikTok to Instagram, we can't. We simply can't. We can't cut it. The other one is giving to others. You know, we are struggling with coming away from self-centeredness to being other-centered. There's something it does to your mental health when you are other-centered. Even just sitting at the table, it doesn't always have to be about you. Even at church when the pastor is preaching, what do you think he's talking about? Yes, receive the message for yourselves, but it could be some other people. Why are you accusing the person? We are too self-centered, we're too introspective, and that in itself does something to us. Remember again, I'll go back to the other generations. They used to say it takes a whole village to raise a child, not so. And also in our homes there were other people. Of course there was a bad side to that, but there were also good things. But today, it is me and my home and my nuclear. And so these people don't even know how to live with other people. And as parents, we already tell them that even that old woman from the village has come to inconvenience you. They're even smelling. And so, when we go to office, we see these mannerisms. I'm an employer. People who simply cannot coexist with other people. They are picky. Then they go to the fridge and eat somebody's bread. Then they can't share an office, they can't share a laptop, they can't share a desk. So really, that just makes the entire office's mental health
Crazy.
yes, crazy. Everyone is competing with the other. Who brought the 9-inch shoe? Who didn't bring the 9-inch shoe? Pastor Uganda says, who cares? You know? But because we have that, and that makes you cannot just be thinking about just the name. And it's choking. Even when I do couple therapy, when I do premarital, your partner is not the end person. Breathe in other healthy relationships. Breathe, allow them to breathe in other relationships, and then come back and be close. So we need to think about other people. Then there is this art of what we call mindfulness. Mindfulness helps mental health. What does mindfulness mean? I'm here today with Angela. We are here for Keturah Mental Health Awards. I'm here. I'm present. I'm hearing the people. I'm grounded. I don't have to check who liked the Facebook thing or that Instagram thing I put. I'm here. I'm listening to Dr. Hafsa. I'm here. I know there are things falling apart that I left at home, but when I sit in my car and begin to figure out that broken thing I left. Here, mindfulness, being here, present, grounded. The challenge, most of us have mental health challenges because we are either in the past or in the future. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a planner, we can plan the future. But honestly, I cannot be planning the future this evening. I'm here with you people. I want to connect and hear you and meet Christine and say, meet Dr. Hafsa and say, I need something from you and how do you talk about this? And connect with her. Not thinking about the broken mirror I left when I was crying. I'll figure it out when I get there. After all, when I think about it here, will it repair itself? So, we need to think about that. Then we learn the rhythm of rest, work, rest. Rest, work, rest. Regular pauses in the day, weekly, monthly, quarterly. Of course, most of these things you know. Sleep well, nutrition, relax, movement, social connection, not the illusion of it. The likes are not social connection. All of us, we all edit the photos. The people who will see today's photos, they say, hey, mom, they were doing mental health. They think we are the best in the whole world. But there will be things that have removed our wrinkles and what. So those likes are not, that is an illusion of connection. It's not true connection. Why do you think Ugandans are spilling all their issues on social media? There is no true connection. I have enough connections not to spill anything on social media. If I use it on social media, it's the way you're using it to support other people. You're sharing the story to support other people, to teach other people. Not for the rest of social media to find a solution. That's not the place. The place will be with these solutions. So, that is at individual level. And as I end this evening, community level. The community is a social connection space. Social support. Nobody does life well. You cannot be well mentally if you don't have social support. And we are breaking. It used to be family, now we are disintegrating. Friends, they are not planned friends. They are not true friends. People believe they are not true friends. So where are we going to find that? So we need to go back. The protective factors, safe environments, education, relationships. I want to say as an end today, we need to support the carers. That social support needs its own support. Just imagine when you're caring for somebody for a long time, who cares for you? Because you get depleted, you get all those things, and as Dr. Hafsa said, sometimes people are in and out, the medicine hasn't kicked in, so back and forth. The carers are exhausted. But sometimes the carers are also accused by other family members. They think you spoiled the person, you're enabling the person, but they haven't walked in your shoes even 6 months. So we need to support the carers. Then the carers need their own self-awareness so that they can have their own self-regulation. The carer needs time out, but well, they need other support so that they can have time out. Do you get what I mean? The carer needs to breathe. The carer needs to find other things other than just caring maybe for the person they are supporting who has mental illness. The carer needs information. How much do they know about the condition they're working on? The carer needs resources. I shared the story of my work. These days when you hear about human trafficking, it sounds like a trending thing. People almost look at you and, oh, hey, you do that kind of work. But that's not the issue. It's resource intense. You might use about 35 million Uganda shillings to support 5 people. And guess what? For us, we're an NGO. Everyone talks, care about their mental. We do trauma-informed approaches. But trauma-informed approaches are very expensive. And guess what? Nobody puts money in aftercare services. Because if you give me 35 million and I support 5 people, and you give somebody else 35 million and they do a training of 500 law enforcement, what do you think the return on investment is? Christine, you are in that development work. Return on investment, they would rather give the $10,000 to somebody who's going to report 500 duty bearers that were trained. The new 10,000, I supported 5 medical, psychosocial, educated them. So this space needs a lot of resources, not only financial, material, time, energy, hands, human beings, whether at family level, community level, hospitals, as discussing with Christine. We need a transition space where, as let's say I'm a mom and I'm supporting my child with mental illness. They are not exactly in the psychiatric community because they're badly off, but maybe I need to travel. And nobody should fault me because I went to Kalangala with my friends. But I need a place where the person can be watched, which we don't have. The person, the medication will be supervised. I can also go away and have a rest. I'll come back and get them. And so we really need a lot of resource in that place. And also the carer has to have a self-care plan. So this evening, even as we pick a leaf from what the earlier speaker said, it starts with, if I'm not well, I need to overcome the whole stigma thing. And for you, I'm preaching to the converted. But also, if I'm one that is caring for somebody who is not well, I need to care for myself as well. I also need to understand my own triggers. Because when I'm triggered, I trigger the person. And usually I'll be triggered when I'm exhausted, when I'm depleted. I've used all the resource I have, but I'm not replenishing. So this evening, let's go back and think about ourselves as carers, other people in the communities that are caring. They don't even have anyone to bounce ideas off. They don't even have anyone to talk to. And also we're talking about something. In that process, sometimes as the carer, I become manipulative. I also, sometimes I have my own mental health challenges, but they're on a different spectrum. So for the rest of the family to give me money, I have to keep pretending the person is not doing very well. Now that becomes, you're begetting mental health challenges, are begetting more other challenges. And so let's pay attention, let's encourage, let's share information with our communities, and let's keep on keeping on. Thank you so much for all the work you're doing. Thank you for those of you that are brave enough to come and share your stories. You're on this journey, we cheer you on. Wherever we are able to support, we will. Where we are not, maybe we'll send you to a linkage or a referral or something. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Can we just clap for them till they get here? Not easy. Till they get here, please. Till they get here. Well done, well done, well done.
May I please have Dr. Hafsa hand over this award? Vision Group representative will hand over the other one.
Hello. Madam. No?
And yeah. Let's go for Yes.
We are requesting.
Congratulations.
Let's sing a little bit the same. That's fine.
Congratulations. May we clap for them one more time? Thank you for the work you are doing. We recognize you and we see you and we're right behind you. All right, so the next award goes to... This is a Grassroots Impact Mental Health Award. Can you guess? Can you guess? All right, this award goes to none other than Joe Basimwa, who is a clinical psychologist. Congratulations.
Hello.
Congratulations. Thank you for the work you're doing. Okay, Judith. Judith, you're very welcome. We're glad to have you here. And she's going to help us give the awards to the next person, who is...
Okay, let me explain why Judith is giving this award. Judith is giving this award because she...
So the award is Special Impact Mental Health Award. Can you guess the person, the winner? All right, the winner of this award is Grace Linda Nabatan. Please put your hands together and welcome her. Just get here, please. Not easy. Next time we look to you. Congratulations. Thank you for the work you do. All right. Can I request a word? And the winner is Donze Mwangu. Is he around? Can we clap on him? Is he around? Is there a representative to collect this award for him? Okay. Looks like he's not around today, so this award will be given to him. So thank you very much. We appreciate.
Excuse me? Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right, this award
goes to the Disability and Inclusion Impact Mental Health Award. And the winner of this award is Veronica Mirembe Benediction. Congratulations.
Can you just have awards in regard to this award? Yes. So it's going to be brief, but I kindly needed to explain why it's more of a physical disability. Yeah, because you will ask yourself, I don't have anything physically, but I have a psychosocial disability. I have lived with bipolar disorder for the last 23 years, and it is why I have gotten this award, because I may not be physically disabled, but I have a psychosocial disability. And just something small in regard to this award, because we are here to help each other. And in regard to the theme of the day, mental health is a fundamental human right. I just want to speak something in regard to stigma and mental health, because I believe most of us here can know how to help most of us, because most of us are going through this pain and shame, but no one is there for us. One, Dr. Hafsa said, do not be someone else's reason for being mentally challenged. It is something most of us here need to understand, because we are all here to fight stigma. When people like us come out to help people, we are stigmatized, we lose contracts, we lose work opportunities, we are feared in society because of what we are going through. You run this language consultancy, but no one will come. They chase you away from jobs in international schools, because they are telling you you're going to harm children. So it is something I believe even the policymakers in this place need to get awareness about. And as I finish, in regard to what I have authored 3 books, and I want to give them to this nation, because I believe whenever people read my story, they ask me, is this a movie? And I can say it is really a testimony, because at 15 years, I weighed 150 kilos. I'm now 35 years and I'm just 70 kilos. I refuse to cry because I believe my shame is to help the world. You guys, I'll be honest, we have come for this award, but no family person wants to associate with you because you're called a lunatic. This is a very old lady, a very distant family member who is here for me. Where am I sharing this? We want to help you know how to help us. Because at the end of the day, we are living in pain and shame. You have all these beautiful ideas, but you're rejected everywhere because everyone knows you as bipolar. How are you helping us? It is the reason I came up with my last book. It's called 23 Years in a Mental Asylum, 17 Years in Butabika and Still Beautiful by God's Grace. I want to show people you're not defined by Butabika. You're not defined by a tag. You can be out there and do a lot. However, the shame that is ongoing in your life, I want to show the world with the shame I have been through. Even none of my family members was ready to pay 100,000 to come and be there for me. But an old family member in the village is who can come and be here for me. To show this world that we are able as a mentally challenged. You can do very many things. Mental health issues are not the end of the world. Thank you very much. And as I finish, I'm giving out because I want to give back as I'm giving back to the nation. I've been a patient in Natamba for 17 years. I've gotten very beautiful psychiatric treatment, and it's the reason I've been able to come up with this project I believe can help this nation. I have come up with language books I believe can help this nation who want to learn Chinese, French, and different languages. I have a project called Learn Languages Uganda. I'm giving this back as a way of thanking the Ugandan government for giving us such treatment. And it's something I call for people to come and help us, because most of us are suffering. You hardly have them 3,000 for parts, but you're giving out everything, and because everyone they want to associate with you. I really want these books to be like on national platforms where people can access them, because they have been stolen by people and people are making money out of them. And yet they can help this nation, because I have very many beautiful projects. I'm planning to launch my books in
November, and I want to launch these beautiful language ideas. I kindly ask people who are here and can support me, I'll be very humbled. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. I would like to request
of October 2023 and that you knew that we will be in this place. We want to thank you for the blessing of this cake. Jehovah is not just an ordinary cake that we are going to partake this day, but it's a cake that we are going to share to celebrate the freedom that comes from sharing experiences, from such gatherings where we create more awareness, where we fight stigma, where we celebrate lives of individuals and families that have braved through such crisis times. We thank you because even Jesus, you suffered mental health problems. Many people in the Bible, many great men in the Bible, many kings, people or men of God, even after serving God, many of them got challenged, others became suicidal, just because they became overwhelmed, just even like us. But all of them overcame. Even as we know we shall overcome. Lord, even as we share of this cake, may this be a rebirth in our lives to know that we are just going to begin the work. Even want to thank you for all those who have received the awards for this year. And we want to thank you even for the awards for 2024. A thing that you are doing to bring back life to the hopeless. We give you all the praise, for in Jesus' name we pray and believe. Amen.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Looks like our names got legs. I'm sorry for keeping you standing for longer than you imagined, but very shortly we'll be having a cake. So, okay. In the meantime, I'd like to recognize our sponsors tonight. Okay, I'm going to request us to count from 5 until 0, okay? Are we together, guys? All right.
No,
5,
she's not saying. Doctor.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You may take your seat. Thank you. Hi, Jackson. All right, can we have a
teamwork home care? This is the team of doctors, nurses, midwives, plus specialists. We link this team to patients in their home for home care. We look for the sick and elderly. As teamwork home care, we have a package for these people who are ill. As you know, mental illnesses is rising in Uganda. We've got a package for them, whereby we have developed a package for them, especially mothers under puerperal psychosis. So we have post-delivery care. As we are taking care of them, they get these mental issues. So we are able to get a nurse who is qualified and trained, who can do the best spiritually, socially, and mentally. We have also dementia, whereby we have elderly care. You know, as you grow to the other age, the brain cells start degenerating, leading to the memory loss. So we believe as teamwork home care, we have a good package for them. Especially, you know, people may be using brands which also cause these are the mental issues. We have bipolar, where we have mania and depression. So most of these youth people using drugs. These drugs also destabilize these other cells, leading to these mental issues, bipolar. So is where we have a job loss. After losing a job, you're depressed. You don't have anywhere to go. But as teamwork home here, we come to you. We have counselors, we have psychiatric doctors who are able to design a good care plan for you. We have other services regardless of what we mentioned, where we have physiotherapy services. These elderly patients, or you see, they need other things in relation to exercise because they can't move out of the bed, so they need this other care. So, as teamwork home care, we've got good physiotherapists who are able to help them. We have palliative care. Palliative care, especially to these patients with cancer,